Well, here's a good example. Harrison, you posted 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk died that there was a credible threat against his life. Has the FBI reached out to you to ask you about that?
No.
But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing.
New details just exploded in the Charlie Kirk case, and it's getting ugly. People are calling out Erika Kirk. They're demanding answers from Kash Patel. And the silence right now, that might be the loudest part of this story. It all started with a live session on X. Candace Owens and several independent journalists were breaking down everything that's gone wrong with the investigation into Charlie's assassination. There were a lot of eye-opening moments in that broadcast, but things took a very strange turn when a man named Harrison Smith was brought into the conversation. Now, Harrison works for InfoWars, and nearly a month before Charlie was assassinated, he posted this tweet. As you can see, that tweet is a pretty serious lead. So naturally, he was asked the obvious question. Did law enforcement ever question him about it?
Well, here's a good example. Harrison, you posted 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk died that there was a credible threat against his life. Has the FBI reached out to you to ask you about that?
No.
Also,
No.
like, are you going to tell us who that was? It feels like that might be relevant now.
Yeah, so in the absence of a rigorous investigation by the agency, we are led to lead this investigation. That is why Fort Huachuca is so relevant. But I was going to ask you, thank you, Candace. Can you tell us who told you that?
Because
Because
he's
the
dead now.
FBI is not asking you.
Yeah, I mean, the person that told me asked me not to say who they were, so I'm not going to give up a source. Sorry.
And as you just heard, no interview, no follow-up. They didn't even bother to contact his source. Let that sink in. Here you have a journalist openly blaming a foreign country for Charlie's death. And yet Kash Patel went on to publicly clear all foreign involvement without ever investigating this lead.
Do you believe any foreign government had a role in his assassination?
At this time, the FBI doesn't have credible information to connect any foreign governments to it.
Instead of getting mad at Kash Patel for not talking to potential witnesses, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Colvett made this strange tweet. Murders are down 20% this year, a historic record decrease. It's wild more people aren't talking about this. Well, maybe people are talking about more important things, like the public execution of your boss, Charlie Kirk. But that's just my guess. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Just one day after this live stream went viral, Harrison was suddenly interviewed by law enforcement. This, of course, happening while they're already prosecuting Tyler Robinson for the crime. As you can imagine, that lit a fire. The case exploded back into the spotlight. People were furious with Kash Patel, but they were also starting to look very closely at Erika Kirk again and her past.
What I'll say is, when I lived out here, I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another.
I've already talked about her previous relationship. I've already shown you how she lied about it. In fact, even Erika's ex, Cabot Phillips, the man many believed was being positioned to replace Charlie, suddenly came under suspicion. The pressure got so intense that Cabot felt forced to publicly share his whereabouts the day before the assassination just to clear his name online.
So if this is true, it's literally that simple, right? Candace asked the question, where were you? I was here. Here's my alibi. Case closed. We can move on to the next topic. And Cabot Phillips coming in hot. So if this is true, Shadow of the Ezra just tweeted out 18 minutes ago, and it says Erika Kirk's ex-boyfriend, Kabat Phillips, released surveillance footage along with 2 additional photos to prove that he was never at a military base in Arizona. He says he was in Nashville both days. On the afternoon of the 8th, attended an ultrasound with his wife before stopping to buy balloons for the gender reveal. Phillips says people need to touch grass. And this is going to be a surveillance video, which you guys are watching on the screen right here, right now. And then after this finishes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you right now, which is the photo of him and his wife at the ultrasound, and then him also buying balloons at 5:22 p.m. on September 8th, 2025. And those photos were taken over in Nashville. So if this alibi holds up, it seems like it dismisses everything that Mitch claims that he saw or Mitch thought he saw, and we can move on from this whole thing. Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out what Candace has to say. But so far, here's an alibi. Ball's back in Candace's court. Let's see how it plays out. We out. Peace.
Now, as for Erika, more and more videos are coming out, and every single one of them makes her behavior look even stranger.
In August, before all this happened, he had a event where he had some donors at, and one of the first questions they asked was, God forbid if something happens to you, like what would happen next, a turning point? And Charlie made a really interesting point. He said companies, example, Apple, Macintosh, he said they're founder-led. He said, but what I have built will one day, if I'm not around, be vision-led. And he had made mention at the end, Erika will do a great job running it.
So if Charlie died, his entire organization would be in Erika's hands. The same woman who was dating someone Charlie knew before she interviewed for TPUSA and started dating Charlie. Also, the same woman who keeps doing stuff like this. Now, sure, maybe it's all just a coincidence, but you can see why people aren't trusting a word Erika says anymore. And it definitely doesn't help when she keeps saying things like this.
You're sitting in that chair for a reason. That exact chair. That person that's sitting right next to you was meant to sit right next to you. I'm not telling you how to figure out why. But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that? No, not until we were 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time. But nothing is by coincidence when God is within you, okay? So you guys go blaze a trail, okay? God bless you all.
Things are also getting increasingly bizarre with Tyler Robinson. Just days ago, unredacted transcripts from his case were released, and almost immediately people latched on to one detail. You see, Tyler's own lawyer admits on record that Tyler surrendered to the police. The media and officials are treating this like a win, like it somehow validates the official narrative. But if anything, it does the exact opposite. Because think about what they're asking us to believe. Tyler Robinson was calm and cooperative enough to surrender, but not willing to confess. Not willing to explain anything?
And anything new on the investigation, you say he admitted that, confessed? No, not again. He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating.
That doesn't sound like guilt. That sounds like someone following a script or being protected by one. And where the hell is the footage of him surrendering? Because despite all our surveillance networks, that footage has somehow vanished.
After learning of this, I submitted a public records request to obtain any video of Tyler Robinson walking into the jail facility. Washington County responded saying there were no records responsive to the request, as Robinson did not go to the jail area. Our request for any holding room video was denied. A few weeks later, I re-upped the request on a more generalized scale for surveillance video showing Tyler Robinson walking into the sheriff's office. Our office does not have any applicable records responsive to this request, as the surveillance footage is no longer available after the 30-day retention period.
In such a high-profile case, a key piece of evidence just vanished, and you're telling me that's normal? It reeks of manipulation and deception, and once the trial begins, the whole story will fall apart in front of our eyes. The FBI and the DOJ will blame each other for this disaster, and we'll never get justice for what happened to Charlie Kirk on September 10th. Now, while all of this is happening, a very strange story suddenly broke out about the Freemasons.
Could Met officers soon have to reveal their ties to the Freemasons, a centuries-old fraternal organisation? The Met has started a consultation on whether membership should be declared as part of improving trust in the force. But the move has been criticised by the Met Police Federation and the Freemasons themselves.
So let me get this straight. We're supposed to believe that even the Freemasons are fed up with the UK's privacy laws? That has to be a joke. Because let's be real, high-ranking members of these shadow organizations aren't working as beat cops in some local police department. They're the ones writing these laws, and they're the ones pushing them. If you really want to know who's tied into groups like the Freemasons, don't look at the uniforms. Look at the people advocating for the most draconian privacy laws in the UK and across Europe.
When I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services, but not only. Sure. It's also good for school enrollment. It's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to get your subsidies, from the government.
And this war on privacy doesn't stop there. Australia is now pushing some of the most extreme online regulation laws we've ever seen.
Under Victoria's civil anti-vilification scheme, which starts in 2026, the speaker of a vilifying statement generally needs to be identifiable to be held to be held accountable. We recognise that this could protect cowards who hide behind anonymous profiles to spread hate and stoke fear. That's why Victoria will spearhead new laws to hold social media companies and anonymous users to account, and will appoint a respected jurist to unlock the legislative path forward.
Well, we all know the under-16 social media ban will come into place next month, but do you know what else is coming in for Aussie adults? As of December 27, Australians will be forced to upload government-issue IDs every time they search the web while they're logged in. Google, Bing, it doesn't matter. No ID, no search. Now, the reasoning is protecting kids from adult content. No doubt that principle has benefit. We all want to keep our children safe. The reality, though, some critics say, is a full-scale experiment in digital control. Mandatory ID uploads for all users, teenagers, seniors, everyone. Facial recognition or digital ID linking is the, quote, convenient alternative. No opt-out, no transparency, just compliance on behalf of the public.
Canada isn't far behind either. They're also racing toward full digital ID adoption.
Today, we're taking another step to fulfill that promise. Starting in late 2026, Alberta will be the first province to implement the addition of Canadian citizenship markers to our driver's licenses and identification cards. This simple addition will have a profound impact on how Albertans interact with their government and their communities. Why are we doing this? Because we believe in making things better, faster, and more convenient for everyone. By including citizenship information on these cards, we're streamlining access to vital services, whether it's applying for student aid, accessing health benefits, or supporting those with disabilities. No longer will Albertans need to carry multiple documents or face unnecessary hurdles. This change means that when Albertans need to prove both their identity and their citizenship, they'll be able to do so with a single document.
Right now, the United States is pretty much the only major country without a national digital ID system. But don't get too comfortable. This could change very fast once your assets go fully digital. When that happens, you will need a digital ID just to sell, transfer, or even access what you own. And if you think privacy still exists in this country, let me show you what Apple is working on. They're not just listening, they're reading your brain. Apple just filed patents for AirPods that can scan your brainwaves. Real EEG sensors embedded in these silicone tips designed to pick up electrical activity from your brain, muscles, even your eyes. It's called biosignal sensing. The electrodes scan for stress, focus, fatigue, and movement. Apple claims it stays on device. But the same chip that reads your brain can track your mood, detect your attention span, even log your sleep patterns in real time. And it gets deeper. Apple's own patent drawings show live brain data used to control augmented reality, facial expressions, even hands-free typing through jaw clenching. You thought it was just a headphone. It's a neural interface. No product's been released yet, but Apple's already filed the patents and designed the chips. Companies like Neurable already do this. It's not theory, it's coming. And it's wrapped in a clean white case with your name engraved. What's more valuable than your thoughts? Your thoughts when you don't even know they're being read. Stay private or stay watched. I've told you before about DARPA developing technology designed to read brain activity, essentially turning thoughts into data. Well, now it looks like that technology didn't stay in the military. It's made its way to one of the biggest tech companies on Earth. And honestly, that shouldn't surprise anyone. Siri itself was originally developed with DARPA funding before Apple put it into millions of homes. These companies were already listening to us through pretty much every smart device. They've been recording you. A U.S. judge just ruled that millions of Alexa users can team up in a class action lawsuit accusing Amazon of secretly recording private conversations and profiting off your voice. The lawsuit says Alexa was never just a smart speaker. It was a surveillance device that illegally and repetitiously intercepted billions of private conversations. Amazon denies it, of course, says Alexa only listens when you want it to. But here's the thing, this case is now going to court. And if the plaintiffs win, Amazon could be forced to delete years of audio recordings from their servers and pay out damages to every single user affected. That means everything you ever said near your Echo, the whispers, the fights, the late night Google searches, may have been stored, analyzed, and monetized without you ever knowing. This isn't just about voice data, it's about consent. It's about how long big tech has been listening and how far they're willing to go to own your digital shadow. Remember, they said Alexa was for convenience. Turns out it might have just been a wiretap with a friendly name. Now it looks like even our thoughts aren't off limits anymore. And if that doesn't tell you how far things have gone, I don't know what will.